They wrote me off, I ain't write them back. Follow me, but don't double tap. I ain't liking that. You subscribe, I monetize. Now who's striking that? Wanna see the contract? Who got the rights to that? This my story. I spent my whole life on that. Time's up. Shador Sanders with the rollie in the armor. I could do this shit with my eyes closed. The main attraction don't come at me with no side show. I'm selling high, they wanna buy low.
Good morning, my good people. How we feeling? How we looking? Hey, man, it's one of them mornings, Super Bowl hangover. Yesterday, I guess, you got your celebrations in. I know my boy Josh probably did. So today, we are done celebrating. Today, it's time to rest and get over it, right? Shout out, man. Shout out everybody that's here, man. Shout out everybody that's going to be here. If you ain't here, wake your butt up and let's get it cracking, man. Welcome to the Cook Up. We got a good guest, my boy Josh, man. Joshua, how you like it? Josh or Joshua? How you feeling, Josh?
Either or, man. Either or.
Okay.
College days, everybody called me Hudson. So it's however you want to do it.
We got Jay Hud in the building. You know what I'm saying? And we here, man. He's from over there at Club Fantasy. Just let us know, man, how you feeling this morning, brother. I see you got your Eagles on. We gonna let you show a little bit of love to your birds. But before we get on to them, man, let the people know a little bit about you and what you got going on right now, brother.
Yeah, you can find me over on Twitter machine at the one Hudsonian. That's the number one. Everything I do is over at Club Fantasy, at Club Fantasy FFL. It's the off season, so we're gonna be we've got our flagship show, no pun intended, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. And then we'll have a whole bunch of mock drafts. We do a lot of mock draft shows throughout the off season. I got Ryan, Gator J. We got different shows every week. I think we're doing one tonight now that I think about it.
Okay.
I think I know the start time for that one. It's supposed to be 9 o'clock. So
hey, look, John, I ain't tell nobody that you was the reason why we 3 minutes late, man. But now they know, all right?
See, Rob, it's all good. It's all good.
How we feeling, Rob?
Feeling good, man. Had the family and the friends over for the Super Bowl. Cooked up a whole bunch of stuff for it.
We know how you do. We know how you do, man. We know how you do, right? Okay. All right. Well, look, man, we glad y'all here. I'm here. The world is here. People are here, man. And Josh, man, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I know this is your first time on the Cook Up, man. We like to give our flowers to the guests and this and that, but unfortunately, you are an Eagles fan, so you get 2 dozens of flowers and roses, right? You celebrating on double time, bro. So let's get it started. Let's get it started. I got a little piece I put together, man. I had a lot of thought into this one, and I say, since Josh coming on, let's celebrate these Eagles, man. Give me 1 second, man. Let's check it out.
ELGSES Eagles. Let's go Birds.
All right, let's debunk.
You know how we get down, man. Look, shout out to the mayor of Philly. Maybe that was the reverse curse that y'all needed. I'm not sure. But that Philadelphia that I don't know, man. I don't know how to explain that one right there, Josh. But
there literally is no explanation. I mean, I learned a while ago you don't have to be very educated to be a politician these days. So if you can't spell Eagles, I don't know where you're going.
for sure, man. I said let me open up with that one. But
I love how people are just kind of like taking it and running with it though, and like really having fun. And I'm just like, you know what? If it works, it works. However it is. If
you win behind it, oh well, right? But overall, bro, your moment from Sunday, your excitement. What was your analyst of the game, but also just you, like as a fan of the team, like how long you been a fan? What was like the excitement like for you seeing that trophy and the confetti come down, bro?
Yeah, it's the second time that I've personally seen us raise the Lombardi. Obviously, the Nick Foles championship was something special. No, I mean I've been a fan for a long time. I mean, my early years in life, I lived in Cape May, New Jersey, so I've been around, I've been around the area. I've been in Philly a lot. But like my favorite player back in the day was McNabb. And what really kind of solidified it for me was when Terrell Owens came over to the Eagles, because he was my favorite wide receiver at the time. And that's really when like my fandom like really took off. And then like getting Shady and Djax and Mac, you know, like all those guys, like that offense, and then bringing Vic in after the whole prison sentence and everything. Because like Vic, that was the time when I used to work for Nike, so we had like the Michael Vick experience and all that kind of stuff in all the stores.
Yeah.
And,
Yes, sir.
so like that culmination and all that together was just like one of my most favorite moments that still lives with me, because I know this so vividly. I was living up in Orlando when I was in college, and my fiance and I at the time, we were switching apartments in our complex. We were upgrading, and that was the same day of the Miracle at the Meadowlands, the Deshaun Jackson turn to end the game. And I just remember like running around my apartment complex screaming after we won that game. And but no, like that's how long I've been an Eagles fan for a long time. But no, last night's game, or not last night, but Sunday was like we've been saying on our show for literally all season, this Kansas City Chiefs team is so overrated. Like they're not as good as their record is.
For sure.
And
but they've been like that for like 2-3 years though, y'all. Honestly, like they winning off of just coaching.
They find ways to win. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
They always find ways to win. And I mean, even 2 years ago when we played him in the Super Bowl, like Jalen Hurts, for all intents and purposes, he outplayed Mahomes. But it's just like, you know, the holding call with James Bradbury, like there was always some questionable calls. And you know, I mean, even in this game, like it literally started right out of the gate with the whole AJ Brown, you know, offensive pass interference, and I was just like, really, we're starting this early now, honestly.
And that was pretty terrible. That was one of the worst freaking penalties I've ever seen.
It's one of those things where I think if Trent McDuffie isn't 3'3" and
I was just about to say
have his, you know, and it doesn't have his hand on his helmet, then they probably don't call it, right? But it's because he hit the helmet. But then like the inverse comes around when McDuffie gets his helmet like up in I think it was Goddard's face.
Goddard.
I think even that was a pretty ticky-tack one. But I'm like, all right, maybe the refs are making up for it, right? But then from there, and then from there, the refs played literally no part in this game. And I think for me, that was the way the Eagles needed to win this game. Like they needed to take the questionable calls out of the situation, and they needed to pulverize this team. And that's exactly what they did. 145 points in the postseason, the most in a single NFL postseason in history.
Yeah.
This was a dominant team from top to bottom. And I've been saying it all year, not trying to be like a fan, but this is the best team from top to bottom in the NFL. And it's been that way all season. When you doubted the passing game, Jalen Hurts said, hold this beer, and dominated from the passing perspective. They just didn't throw the football all season because they didn't need to. They have a 2,000-yard rusher. Why do you need to throw the football?
I don't think they
when you
wanted
can run
to,
it down everybody's throat.
The
moment Kansas City took away Barkley, Jalen Hurts did the damn thing.
Well, I think they wanted Saquon to have the season he had, right? I think they wanted to celebrate him as you that dude. We gonna sit back, do your thing. But I will say though, Josh, and there's no knock on Philly because everybody always take everything I say about it.
I don't think Cowboys fans personally. They're just.
I'm just say this, right? Like you just said, this is the best team hands down in football right now, right? Roster wise, position for position, we can go through the list. It's one of the best. It is the best, but it would have looked worse to lose with that roster than to win. Not take the weight, not taking the win away, but I'm saying to have all of that and to lose to this underperforming Chiefs roster, it would be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? So I said from the draft, when y'all had the draft, I said now, because my brother's an Eagles fan, I tell him, bro, y'all got to go win it. Now that you won it, so it is what it is. You can't argue it. But Philly had to win this. I was always a non-believer of it because I just don't trust Kellen Moore. But I don't think this was Kellen Moore's game plan all year. I think they just said, look, you here.
This was a very Nick Sirianni game plan.
Exactly, because if it was Kellen Moore, it would have been Saquon wouldn't have had those yards that he had. But I will just say this is the best roster, and I'm gonna say this right now early. It's the beginning of a dynasty, man. These boys about to go to about 2-3 more of these things.
I freaking hate.
They about to go to 2-3 more of them things, man. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. Hey, go ahead, Rock. I ain't glazing the Eagles, but hey, I'm just keeping it real, man. The dynasty is building, bro. It's coming. Go ahead.
It's the NFC though. So how many times have we seen an NFC team become a dynasty? It's usually on the AFC side. I think Mahomes and the Chiefs, they still have the best chance of having closest thing to a dynasty we've seen since the Patriots.
That's because the AFC, bro, they literally top heavy, right? The only team to go, it's like 4 teams to go to Super Bowl over there for the last 20 years. So
that's all they need.
What I'm saying?
That's all they need.
Like the NFC, Seattle tore down their dynasty, but other than that, you're right. It's not really one on the NFC. But I mean, overall though, man, I just think right now Philly is, like I said, hands down the best roster, and all they got to do is get there. Once they there, man, it's gonna be hard to. That D line, bro, is crazy, man. It's crazy out there.
Milton Williams is a free agent. Josh Sweat's a free agent, and Josh Sweat picked the perfect time to have a career game.
Oh,
and then of course switching to Drew Rosenhaus. That boy getting paid this offseason.
Yeah.
Who else? Zach Bond's a free agent.
Yeah, and he picked the perfect time. Man, that year he had, I was like, man,
that had to have been the best value free agent signing in NFL history.
Nah,
like,
for real.
For real. So, for real. Yeah, like, and this is what I'm saying. Like, we've got some key free agents. I mean, I'm not that worried about losing Milton Williams. We got Moro Ajomo, kind of like next up. So I think that they'll probably let Milton Williams go, promote Ajomo into more of that starting rotation, and then they'll probably draft another rotational tackle. Sweat is somebody, like, to me, he's like our next Brandon Graham. Like, he's the guy that just kind of does what the defensive coordinator needs. He doesn't have like the eye-popping sack numbers, but we know he can get there, and he's always done well with hurrying the quarterback and getting those pressures, but it's been finishing the job, right? And that's where Brandon Graham has always been. Like, I think he only has like 2 10-sack seasons in his career, but when the Super Bowl needed, he came through, right? Pushed back through, came back this year after a torn tricep. Like, that's BG. Like, he does that dirty work, and that's what I've always appreciated about Josh Sweat. So I'm curious to see how Howie Roseman and the team in the front office will kind of value Sweat going forward, because I know they weren't willing to pay Hassan Reddick, which you know, I mean, I'm not that mad about, because Nolan Smith was basically a Hassan Reddick clone. I don't think we have that with Josh Sweat. So I think him and Bond would be the guys that I would prioritize from the free agency standpoint. But, you know, sitting at pick 32, it's going to be a little harder to trade up without giving out a ton of assets, which I know Howie Roseman loves moving up and down that draft board.
Howie, bro. So, Howie got trades. He got trades pending right now, man. We know how he get down, man.
and Mekhi Becton too. Like, he was somebody that I was really happy to see him to win that title, especially all the adversity he went through with the Jets. And I know he's loved his time in Philly, so I'm really curious to see if he might be willing to take like a slightly below market deal to stay and kind of keep that offensive line intact. But, you know, time will tell.
Yeah, well, I will say, man, you know, I was waiting for I think Josh, there must be a hangover, man. I don't see my peoples in here, man. They ain't woke up yet, man. They ain't ready to get up in the kitchen with us. But we do got my boy Mr. Voorhees. He's a Chiefs fan, man, ride or die. And you know, hey, man, it is what it is. It happened how it happened. But one thing I tell him, I always remind them, man, the Chiefs will be back next year like they always do. So it is what it is. You know, you got to lose at some point. So, you know, you got my boy Dynasty now been here. Hey, bro, go Birds. We know how you get down, brother. Glad you still with us. Mom's in the building. What's up, Mom? I don't know if you're at home or if you're at work, but appreciate you tapping in with us. And
those Commanders are gonna be fun, man. They figure out that defense with Dan Quinn. They're gonna give the Eagles a run for their money every year, because Jayden Daniels is that fucking dude.
Yeah. Well, we got enough glazing of the Commanders, brother. I live here. I don't want to hear about this no more, man. So we're gonna show y'all a little bit of love. But so I will say though, we just gonna go. Hey man, this is a Super Bowl day, right? This is the last time that we can officially talk football before, you know, all the rookie combine, all that stuff go in. So, hey man, and no matter what side I was on or what team I'm with, today is about the Eagles, celebrating them, showing them a little bit of love, and looking into the future of maybe what the Eagles have coming up next, or what the Chiefs can do to, you know, get over that hump, right? And I got the graphic up here, Jalen Hurts and my boy Smitty, man. The guys right there on that side, those my two guys. No matter what jersey they got on, what team they with, man, those are my guys right there. And yeah, man, I mean, I saw some stat lines that I don't know if people knew about this, right? But I seen one about the Eagles stopped three two three-peats. I don't know if y'all remember this, but they stopped the New England one and they stopped the Chiefs one. And to think that if you on the road to a three-peat and you play the Eagles, yeah, man, you might as well hang that one up. It didn't hit me till I saw the thing last night. I was like, damn, hold up, bro.
Yeah, I think that stopping the Patriots three-peat's a little bit of a stretch because their win over the Patriots was in the middle. So the Patriots weren't actually going for a three-peat.
Hey, Rock, you got that your thing, I think your mic there you go. There you go, Playboy. We good to go. There we go, Rock.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you good. You good, Rock. Go ahead, man. How you feeling this morning, bro? Let us know, man, about this. Like I said, my boy Smitty, which he has a Heisman Trophy. He has a national championship. He got a Super Bowl. I mean, hey, my man's living the life for a guy that came in the league 135 pounds and was undersized and couldn't be this and couldn't be that. Look damn better than a lot of these big name players that we praise and glaze and show all this love to be the skinny Batman in a sense, right? He's definitely one of them ones, man. So what do you think about, Rob?
I'm right there with you where Jalen Hurts, all the players that you got on the screen right now, Slim Reaper, AJ Brown, and Saqoun Barkley, those are like four of my favorite players. It's just unfortunate that they play for the freaking Eagles.
Very
I'm right
unfortunate,
there with
bro.
you. So it's two teams that I completely dislike, and they're both in Pennsylvania. The Steelers are the only other team that I hate even more. But seeing these players and the way that they played, the defense just allowed them to play the game that they needed to play. I think them knowing that their defense had their back and was just completely enveloping Patrick Mahomes. Like after the first two drives, the demeanor of the Chiefs on the sideline, it looked like I was scrolling through what is it called, subreddit NFL memes, which is like Patrick Mahomes. He looked freaking tired, like his wife had kept him up all night with 3 damn kids. Travis Kelce looked like he was just completely he
didn't look like he wanted to be there.
Yeah, he just looked like he was in shock. And Andy Reid, it's just like he just kept pacing up and down the sideline looking for answers.
Yeah.
So even after that 4th down catch with AJ Brown that was taken off, they knew that they were going to come back and that that wasn't going to kill them or anything like that. So their defense allowed them to play the game that they needed to play. It looked like they were just playing with house money the entire time. They just wanted to do what they wanted to do. And even with the run game, the Chiefs defense still showed up, which was good, but they couldn't do anything about it with 2 turnovers from Patrick Mahomes, including a pick 6. Yeah, man, that game, I've never seen a Chiefs team just completely just phone it in after the first quarter. They already knew that they were completely outmatched. I've never seen a Super Bowl like that.
Like you said, after the first quarter, bro, they took their heart. It was basically what are y'all even going to try, or is it just game over? You know what I'm saying? It was a sad appearance to see from guys that were chasing history, three-peat. What they can bring to the table every time, and they pretty much look like they folded, man. I think that D line though, bro. When Pat went up against that D line, he realized, man, it's about to be a long night, man, and it was won real fast, bro. So my boy Dynasty said, man, you need to show a little bit of love to the Titans since AJ Brown trade. He has more Super Bowl appearances than Treylon Burks has touchdowns. What a gift. Damn, brother. That was a good one. I like that one. And sad for Treylon Burks, man. I actually saw another stat, man, that I don't even know people know this. I was going to say this for my Jalen Hurts glaze, but I say this. Jalen Hurts is the only quarterback drafted after Pat Mahomes that won a Super Bowl as a starter. So any quarterback, it's 89 of them, I believe. 89 quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts is the only one drafted behind Mahomes that won the Super Bowl as a starter.
Yeah, I think he's the first quarterback since Jim Kelly to lose a Super Bowl and then make it back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, oh, wow. Yeah, man. I mean, when I look at
there's a whole big curse. So, you get to the Super Bowl and lose, you don't make it back.
Yeah,
that's like the Bengals. The Bengals we're waiting for Joe Burrow to get back, but
man,
Bengals that's never happened.
Bengals ain't going back, Rock, man. Come on now. We know about them Bengals, man. But
Man, they got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Anything's possible with those two guys.
Man, please. Only reason, Rock, listen.
They got to shell out some dough for Jamar Chase because that boy is going to get paid.
And a defense, too. That kind of
We
helps.
know why they made it the first time because Lamar Jackson was hurt the last 2 games of the season, and they won them games, man. Lamar would have beat them bums. They would have been at home, man. Let's go ahead and we'll skip them Bengals. But I will say, though, man, before we move on from the team perspective, though, when you look at this offense, just say Saquon comes back, he's ready to play, he's back to, top tier Saquon like he was this year. Realistically, where they going with this team? Are they back in the championship? Are they at least NFC championship side? Like, where do they line up, I guess, against the top teams? Or let's just say top 4 teams in the NFC right now. Where you putting the Eagles coming in the next year?
Go ahead, Josh.
It's your team, Josh.
I mean, they're definitely the top of the NFC. I mean, everybody wants to anoint Detroit. Like, I can speak from firsthand experience when, you lose your coordinators and then trying to come back and there's always that adjustment period, right? So
yeah,
I know it hasn't officially been announced yet, but the Saints are expected to hire Kellen Moore as their offense or their new head coach. But I mean, look, if I'm Kellen Moore, that's not the head coaching job I want. Like, you are set up for failure. That team is $90 million over the cap.
It's going to be good practice, though, Josh.
But that's the thing is, like, unless it's a situation like where the 49ers promoted Shanahan and they gave him like the longest leash possible, you're walking yourself into a no-win situation because, they're not going to have the patience. The NFL teams don't have patience. They don't at all. And especially someone like Mickey Loomis, he's basically like a sitting GM. Like, he can't do anything wrong when we all know he can't do anything right. And so they're not going to give him the time to actually make this a successful team. Loomis's decisions have this team, seriously, I think it's like 60 to 80 million over the salary cap.
Yeah. And it's been like that for like 3 years.
Yeah. They have no future at quarterback. Chris Olave is 1 concussion away from being a vegetable.
Yeah.
Derek Carr hasn't been good in a decade. Like, there's so many issues with this team. The defense is aging. Like, it's not a job that I would want because especially when you get fired from a head coaching job, you don't get a second chance.
But especially, Josh, this is the thing though. If you want to just have that underneath your belt, I had a head coaching job. Like, it's a lot of times that doesn't come back, right? A lot of times I think coaches take that because they're like, man, I might never get this opportunity again. But like you just said, it's a no-win situation, and I'm leaving the Philadelphia Eagles, bro. I might mess around and just coast my way to another championship and have another head coaching offer next year. If he was leaving a team, like Houston or something like that, maybe. But to look at the roster of what I have to play with next year in my offense, I don't know if I could just get his job away as an OC to go take the Saints job. Like, I would have to run it back and try to win another. Because no matter what plays he calls, he can't go wrong, right? This offense is always going to be good, so it's going to make him look good as a head coach. And I'm with you, man. If I'm Kellen Moore, I'm gonna go ahead and stay in Philly one more year, man. Let's play with Saqoun Barkley, get him to 3,000 yards rushing or whatever. I got all these tools to work with. Why am I going to trade them in for, used auto parts? It doesn't make sense. So me personally, if I'm Kellen Moore, I'm riding this out till the wheels fall off, and one more year for sure, though, man. I wouldn't be leaving Philly right after this.
They got to bring in Jonah Hill from Moneyball to help him out with that situation. That's the only hope he's got in that situation.
Yeah, what else? What you think about the NFC and the Eagles, though, Rock, man? Before we go on to
I mean, it's hard to argue that they do have still the best roster. I'm going to be interested in seeing. They're not going to be able to pay everybody, but they're going to be able to pay a lot more people than we think. And also, too, the Eagles have been one of the best drafting teams over like the last decade, but especially over the last 5 years, ever since they got Slim and Jalen Hurts and doing that trade for AJ Brown,
which Dallas gave them, right? Go ahead, keep going. Yeah,
so it's
y'all got Micah Parsons, all right? I don't want to hear it.
I feel you, man, but that's I ain't gonna lie, I love Smitty because like coming into he was undersized and Jalen Waddle was better and blah 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 blah. Jalen Hurts, man. I mean, Devonta Smith, man. When Philly traded up, I felt like, yes, they only moved up what 2-3 spots.
2 spots.
But for us to only swap third rounders, we didn't get anything back. We gave y'all a Heisman for a swap third rounder, bro. Like, y'all got to pay me something else, though, man. We should still be benefiting from that move. And we did get Parsons, though. I'm not knocking that, but come on, man. You don't give away a Heisman winner for a swap third, bro. That's
for me, that's a trade that worked out for both parties, right? Like, I mean, and you can look at even in this past draft when Philly and Washington kind of made that swap so Philly could move up to get Cooper DeJean. Washington ended up getting Sainstrel or whatever, Mike Sainstrel, the other rookie corner who had a pretty solid season too. So like these are the types of trades that it's just like, you know what, it benefits everybody. They got the person that they wanted. So, you know, Smitty's been great.
Yeah, but Philly ain't supposed to get what
he'd be a wide receiver one on probably every team, but like 5 in the NFL, right?
For sure. But I don't like when Philly get what they want, though, Josh. That's the point I'm making, brother. That's the point I'm making, man.
You want to trade back? You want to give us part?
I feel you. Now you can't do that. Man. Can't do that, man. But go ahead, Rock, before you could close out, brother. How you feeling, man? Go ahead. I ain't mean to cut you off.
I think that the Eagles, like especially I'm looking at their Pro Bowl rosters over the last 3 years. I'm pretty sure the Eagles have had more players go to the Pro Bowl over the last 3 years than any other team. They had 8, 6, and 6. I mean, that's pretty insane. So their roster, and a lot of it is centered on the offensive and defensive line, which is so they're built the right way. I mean, we can clown him for trading for Jahan Dotson and stuff like that, but then he shows up when it matters most. That was crazy. I think he had more catches in that game in the Super Bowl than he did all freaking year, which was hilarious. And he almost got that touchdown. But when you compare it to the other teams in the NFC, I still think it's going to be a revolving door because there's just so much talent, especially when it comes to coaches. And we know that coaches they're pivotal in the NFC. You got Sean McVay. They're still going to stick around with the Rams. Shanahan had a tough year last year, but I expect the 49ers, after going through a season of hell, especially on the offensive front, they're going to be back in the playoffs as well. And then you have the newcomer Jayden Daniels with the Commanders. So there's going to be lots of other teams that are going to be competing with them. And then, of course, the Lions. I'm going to be very interested in seeing how the Lions bounce back after losing all those coordinators. But if they can land someone like freaking Myles Garrett, wherever Myles Garrett goes, if he goes to the NFC, he's going to take that defense. I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. That would be pretty insane if Myles Garrett somehow ends up on the Eagles. But, yeah, I'm excited to see where he lands. So,
in Howie Roseman, we trust.
Yeah, hey, listen, man. I'm just
truthfully, I'd love for them to find a way to trade up to get Abdul Carter, stay young on the defense. Just my personal opinion, but
yeah, Dynasty Noob, he brings up a good point. Salah is back as the DC for the 49ers. That's
the 49ers. It's all about health. I mean, I've never seen optics the way that the 49ers have it. They either make the NFC Championship game or don't make the playoffs at all. Like it's unreal. The back and forth in their time.
Well, they're trying to get rid of Debo so they can bring Devontae Adams in there and make this big splash. I know the formula, man, but it ain't gonna work. And I'm gonna just say this out loud. Hey, Josh, you notice I got on my dark shades today because I didn't want to show my face. I've been talking a lot of trash, man. I'm hiding behind my pride right now. But I will say, Eagles NFC Championship next year, 100%. I'm locking it in, bro. I'm gonna lock it in. I'm not saying they're gonna win it, but I'm gonna say they're gonna be there. I'm gonna say that. And I say that out loud, right? If you want to clip it, do your thing, man. But I get a lot of people always, But yeah, man.
Come on, no faith in Shotty. Come on, man.
Listen. So I will. My next thing, it is another Eagle, man. It is Jalen Hurts, man. This is my dog right here. I love me some Hurts. I looked at my thing earlier. He got benched 2018 in championship game. We all know we all saw that one when he was in Alabama. He went to OU. Got drafted second round, and I remember the day, Josh, when it happened. I'm not sure if you was this Eagles fan, but a lot of Eagles fans I know, almost every one of them. Man, we got Wentz. Wentz is the man. This is he's the this, he's the that. And I remember on draft day, I told my brother, I said, man, y'all do not deserve Jalen Hurts, man. This dude is a dog, man. He a leader. The thing I love about Hurts, bro, me personally, he's the ultimate leader to me, right? He doesn't have he got like a still face. He doesn't get excited. He doesn't get mad. Sometimes I don't like his energy because he just move on to the next play. It's almost like he forgot everything that just happened 5 seconds ago. But everything I read about him and see him and watch him do, man, it's just leadership. He just breathes that leadership mentality. And he lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and now he won it, and he's the MVP of the Super Bowl. And to see him kind of go through that, well, his Hurts good, his Hurts, can he throw the ball? And he's underrated. And we talking Philly fans that's been saying this for years about Jalen Hurts, right? We shouldn't be paying him. And like I said, we miss wins. When we had wins, I've been hearing that for so long, man. But I think the time has arrived that all that Wentz talk, all that, he can't do it, he can't do this, he can't do that. Saquon is the reason. Jalen Hurts won the MVP. Jalen Hurts stepped up when it counted. And Jalen Hurts is that dude, man. So, shout out my boy, man. That's always been my guy. And, Josh, man, we start off with you. What's your thoughts on Hurts? And, of course, before he got to this point, how did you feel about him as your quarterback, knowing that, you got him after he signed that big deal?
So I remember when we drafted him. Yeah. And my first thought was, why in God's name are we taking a quarterback
and that early, right?
Yep.
I thought Pittsburgh was going to take him. I thought Pittsburgh was going to take him, but
I thought they were too. Like, that was my first thought. And then because we needed a safety and Jeremy Chin was there, I remember that very vividly. And I'm like, why are we not taking Jeremy Chin? Yeah. And then I can't remember who wrote the article, but I saw an interview where they were talking to Howie Roseman about, backup quarterback for safety, the value proposition, the success rates, all those different types of things, because they ended up drafting Kayvon Wallace. I think it was in the 4th round. Okay. And I liked Wallace coming out of Clemson, who, ended up kind of being more of a special teamer. I think he's on Carolina right now. Oddly enough, taking the place of Jeremy Chin. But so I remember kind of reading that, and they were talking about success rates of quarterbacks drafted after, a certain point that, and again, Wentz had dealt with I think 2 season-ending injuries at that point. So, and I liked Jalen Hurts coming out of college. I was a fan of him at Alabama. I was a fan of him at Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of these quarterbacks that have the rushing upside that Jalen Hurts has, and they instantly get pegged into a certain box. Yeah. And it's never fair to them. It's always, they don't know how to pass. They only know how to run. And I never saw that with Jalen. Jalen always had a very high completion percentage. He utilized his legs in a way that was never a run first, unless it was an actual draw play or a designed run, right? Yeah. He always looked to throw the football. And so I always respected that with Jalen, and having the conversations, and I think it was with Brady, and really just kind of leaning in and hey, I'm going to be a great quarterback. And I said, all right, let's see how this plays out. And then of course, Wentz, I loved Wentz. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I always loved Wentz. That 2017 season, man, if he doesn't get hurt, I think he's the MVP of the league, straight up. I don't know if we win the Super Bowl, but I know he's the MVP of the league. Jalen Hurts, kind of the same thing. 2 years ago when we went to the Super Bowl, if he doesn't miss those last 2 games, he's the MVP in my opinion. But you know what? I'll take the Super Bowls. That's fine. But with Jalen, this year to me was the validation. This year was put some respect on this man's name. Because again, it was always, you can't throw that. You're a product of the pieces around you, blah, blah. It's the same shit that we've been talking about with Brock Purdy, right? With Brock Purdy, it's, he can't do anything without those weapons. And
here's what we can't say that Jalen Hurts is Brock Purdy.
No, I'm not saying that.
In the same conversation.
I'm not saying that.
Hey, let the man finish. I'm liking what he's saying.
All right, my bad.
What I am saying is,
I'm gonna mute myself. My bad.
Jalen Hurts made it back to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, regardless of whether he had the weapons or not. And Jalen Hurts has never missed the playoffs. Where's Brock Purdy at right now? Just throwing that out there. Anyway,
I didn't like the way you finished that. I love Brock Purdy, but that's fine.
that's why Rock wanted you to finish. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
But no, the constant disrespect for Jalen Hurts. He plays the team game, right? It's not about the 5,000 yards, the 40+ touchdowns. It's not about the stat padding that a lot of these quarterbacks do. And I'm not saying all quarterbacks are selfish and they only care about their stats or anything like that. Like Jalen Hurts' whole thing is if I only throw for 50 yards and we get a W, I don't give a shit. You know, he knows that he's got the pieces around him that as long as he gets the ball in their hands, the Eagles are set up to win. Yeah. And I think like when you look at a lot of these other quarterbacks, like Mahomes, everything goes through him, right? Like he has to be the guy that distributes the football because Kansas City doesn't have a running game. They truthfully have never had a running game. Andy Reid has never been somebody who's going to run the football a ton, even though he's had really good running backs in the past, especially with the Eagles and Jamal Charles in KC. Lamar Jackson is the offense in Baltimore. Josh Allen is the offense in Buffalo. Like those guys have to put up the stats because their teams haven't, in my opinion, done the best job building around. This is the best offense, really the best team, in my opinion, that Baltimore has put together around Lamar. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work their way this year. And it's unfortunate because you only have so many years left of Derrick Henry, especially at his age. Because honestly, they were my pick out of the AFC this year. It was the Ravens-Eagles. That was my pick for the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that they actually didn't go to the Super Bowl. They would have gotten fucking torn apart by that defense. I'm kind of glad that they didn't make it.
I mean, we smoked them earlier this season. So.
Exactly. That was like 35-10. But what
the defining moment of the Eagles season, in my opinion, was when Cooper DeJean just straight up dropped Derrick Henry. I had that play on repeat, and I'm just like, oh, my God, this white boy is something special.
I've never seen anything like that before either. But about Jalen Hurts, he is one of my favorite quarterbacks only because he is the poster child of what one of my biggest pet peeves are in football, which is when it comes to winners and stuff like that, people always want to label quarterbacks or just players in general. They want to put them in a certain box. So last year, when they were not finishing the season very well, and then they had that embarrassing loss against the Buccaneers, man, everyone was getting on Jalen Hurts' case because they saw him on the sideline, and he was just like this, just completely flat and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, man, this guy is uninspiring. He needs to go up and down the sidelines and rally his team. They wanted him to be somebody that he's not. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in the space where it's just like they expect everyone to be like Tom Brady, just breaking iPads and shit like that, or just like screaming and stuff like that because they think, oh, this guy doesn't care or anything like that because he's not showing emotion. Mm-hmm. Having Joe Flacco with the Ravens for so many years, I understand that like not every quarterback's going to be built the same way. They're going to show certain things. And also too, that's probably a huge recipe for him to have the success that he is. Just to always stay even keeled, not let the situation get too big or too small because it's not about him. You know, and that was one of the best things after the Super Bowl. I saw a clip of him just sitting down, just smoking a cigar. He doesn't have to say much. He was just enjoying the moment. And then his interview immediately after the Super Bowl, the reporters asking him all these questions and stuff like that. He's just wanting to take it in. So that's one of the things that I absolutely love about Jalen Hurts is that he's himself, and he doesn't try to be anything else.
Yeah, and the best part about like what both of y'all said, he's calm, he's cool, he's collective. But I always say this, like I said, I became a fan when he got benched. I became more of a bigger fan when he got benched in Alabama. Because you never heard him say nothing bad about it. On the sideline, he was clapping, he was cheering for Tua. Like he's the ultimate teammate, bro. He's the ultimate leader. And again, ask for a trade, Hurts, man. Go to another damn team, man, so I can really be your boy, man. You know what I'm saying? You're always my boy, man, but get the hell out of Philly, man.
That ain't happening. He's gonna
be an Eagle for life.
Stadium here by the time.
I love me some Hurts, though, man. And I'm gonna bring this up because I did say this before, and I went against my word, but I'm gonna keep it 100 with my peoples, man. I told Cody Carpentier weeks ago that this was like way early, like week 10, 11. I said, man, if Philly go to the Super Bowl and Devonta Smith gets over 50 yards receiving, I will get a jersey, right? Then I even came back feeling myself. I said, you know what? The Rams gonna beat them. I said, I'm thinking the Rams gonna beat them and Detroit is gonna beat the Commanders. I said this right here. I said, I told Cody on the cook up, the Eagles made a Super Bowl, Devonta Smith get 50 yards receiving, I buy a jersey. I'm gonna do you one better. If one of these teams make the Super Bowl, I'll buy their jersey, and if they win, I'll buy another one with the Super Bowl patch. So, but I also said let's go Rams, and
Let's go Rams.
It didn't work out. So I'm gonna say this live,
You
man.
jinxed yourself with that last line. So
I will say this, man. Your boy will be getting a Super Bowl Jalen Hurts jersey, man. I'm gonna go ahead and cop that thing and show a little bit of love to my guy, man. So I just wanted to put it out there since I put it out there all year that the Philly wasn't gonna win it. I just got to collect my receipts and give them out loud, baby. So shout out my boy Hurts, man. But the next guy, the MVP of the season for the Eagles. And listen, man, this is the Eagles show, man. So a lot of people might be like, man, can y'all get rid of the Eagles? Man, we got to show them some love. They won a Super Bowl, and I feel like, this is the last time we can celebrate anybody winning it, because after this, ain't no more Super Bowl talk. It's back to business. So this guy right here, though, man, Saqoun Barkley, Eagles fan or not, no matter who you are, you had to be rooting for this guy, unless you was a Giants owner or GM or something like that. But to see what he went through his whole career with all the injuries, all the back and forth, losing quarterbacks, losing Odell, losing the offense. The team is in disarray, over there in New York. And to just wake up one day and say, man, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go to the Eagles. I said this throughout the season, though, Josh, and I'm going to get your take on Saquon. I always felt like he didn't take time to enjoy the season, because I seen him a lot of times. He wasn't celebrating a lot. He kind of was just scoring and just like doing like this and just walking off. Like, it wasn't a lot of like praising. And I think he had one mission, like, bro, I'm going to win a championship. I don't have time to celebrate nothing until I get what I came here for. And it just seemed like from day one, he was just on business mode. And I wanted him to get that 2,000, that rushing yard. I really wanted him to get it. A lot of people told me I was crazy for saying that, and he did it for the team. But I was just being, I wanted Saquon to get all his flowers that he deserved with the Super Bowl on top if it ended up coming to that. So I will just say, man, shout out to Saquon, shout out his journey. And if it was ever a time to want to pay a running back and show running backs love, Saqoun Barkley is the reason and the blueprint. He might have raised the stock for running backs, right? They might start looking back at him and say, hold up, man, maybe we need to start putting respect on these guys' names at the running back position. So, Josh, man, again, it's your team, brother. What you think about Saquon, the signing, and how damn lucky are you to have this guy on your team, bro?
Well, it's the Jalen Hurts effect, right? Like, you talk about how, Saquon felt like he was on business all season, right?
Yeah.
How often do we see Jalen Hurts show emotion on the sideline? Like, he comes to work, plays the game, and goes about his business, right?
Go back, yeah.
Like, Saquon, I think, everything with Hard Knocks last offseason, like, just amplified this situation so much that Saquon was just like, and I was telling all my friends and my people at work, I was like, man, aside from being an Eagles fan, I want the Eagles to win, and I want Saquon to win MVP, and I want him to look in the camera and be like, thanks, Joe. Just to throw it back at Joe Shane and the Giants. Like, that's what I want to see, because I want to see petty Saquon, because real. getting in the the sleep bed commercials and like mocking Mara and like all these different things, and I'm just like, man, petty Saquon is the best Saquon, no cap. Like, I
really wanted him to talk his talk this year, bro.
Petty, Tom Petty.
Yeah, exactly. But no, like, I'm really happy for Saquon. Like, he's one of the genuinely good people in the NFL, and you see it with everything that he does and who he is and how he carries himself. Like, you won't find a teammate say anything bad about him, and that to me is like, that type of player will fit into any locker room, right? But when you look at the spirit of Philadelphia and the types of players that have come in and out of that team, like, he's very much that same type of player. And it's not crazy to fathom. I mean, he went to Penn State. Like, I honestly, like, I remember the year that we were trading up. I think it was the year that Zeke got drafted. I was like, man, I miss having like a really good running back. And I wanted Saquon so bad. And I was just like, it's just, I know it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. And then we went through and we signed him, and I was like, holy shit, we got fucking Saquon.
Yeah, man.
Like, imagine putting him behind this offensive line, and of course we see it come to fruition. Like, I wanted him to get that record. I really did. Because truthfully, he could have done it in like 3 plays. So it wouldn't have even been that many more carries.
I wanted him to get it so bad, bro. Oh yeah, I wanted him. Man,
but I knew he wasn't going to. I knew it was going to be a coach's decision. And, when he said the ultimate goal is to win a championship, right? If we don't win the championship, obviously we're going to look back on that and be like, man, it would have been nice to get that record. But we won the championship. So, and he ultimately set the record anyway for most rushing yards, regular and postseason. So there's that. But again, that Lombardi trophy, that's what matters. And that's what ultimately he is going to be remembered for most. It's not going to be the rushing record or the single season rushing record, regular season, all this kind of stuff. He is a champion. That's where the legacy starts and ends.
For sure, bro. You sound like you need to be doing this documentary, man. That was a good description of how you ended that. Go ahead.
I have been told I have quite the radio voice when I actually have a voice. So
you're on your Morgan Freeman mode right now, brother. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I got the opposite voice, and also not really good for being on YouTube. But I always just think back if we're going to start this Saqoun Barkley documentary, man, you got to start with the John Mara clip from Hard Knocks. It's like. We cannot let him go to Philadelphia. I'll have a real tough time sleeping. So,
and then Saquon's daughter. We're finally gonna win now.
Oh yeah, that was. So
hey, listen. Word is he still ain't sleeping, Rob. He out there in New York, man. Wide awake, bro.
Looking like freaking Patrick Mahomes and looking.
I'm just waiting for the news alert. The Giants fired Joe Shane after the Super Bowl championship trophy.
Oh my god! Well, see, here's the thing. He wouldn't have done much for them anyway. He just got out of purgatory. Time served, and he's gotten to live as a free man right now.
Thank you.
For the Eagles, and then also too, just having the best season that he's had. It makes so much sense. We need to let some of these guys like Myles Garrett. They need to play on some really good teams, man. Saqoun Barkley. I'm so happy that I got to enjoy Derrick Henry this season, have the season that he had. We need to let more of these teams, free up their all-star players so they can enjoy some of the success. So I'm just glad that Saqoun Barkley, he stayed healthy, throughout his career, and he saved the best for, this moment. So we're going to be able to enjoy Saqoun Barkley being a top 2 or 3 running back for the next few years. And I'm so freaking happy to see it.
And see, this is the wild part, right? I listen to everybody talk about their teams, and I watch the blueprint of like how Philly is doing it. And I always compare like the Ravens. They remind me of the Cowboys to me so bad, bro. I say this all the time because the Ravens come in with so much hype and they look good, and then when the playoffs come,
man, at least we win our first game, Fizz. Don't put me in the same category.
Let me cook, man. Let me cook, right? So I'm saying that to say I'm looking at the Eagles, right? I'm looking at the formula they have, and when I look at the Cowboys with that O-line and that D-line, I think the Cowboys literally had this blueprint for years. When they drafted Zeke, knowing we had Romo, we got our O-line. Now we need the running back as the final piece. He's our Saqoun Barkley in a sense, right? The problem is leadership. They don't never put a coach in there or a GM or owner that nobody believes in, and it crumbles. And I'm saying that to say Philly, is wild as Sirianni is, and I think he's a joke, man. I don't know what type of drugs he's on sometimes, but he looks like one of them dudes that's in the locker room dapping everybody up, giving hugs, drinking beers, cracking cans on his head. Like he looked like a guy, no matter how the outside people see him, the people inside that building rock with Sirianni, man. They dap like that. That's their guy, So I look at what Philly did and how they built things to know I'm going to a team like the Eagles and Howie is up there. Automatically, I'm knowing he got everything right. Like he knows what's going on. He's setting the pieces in place for us to be good. And I'm going back to this because, like I said, I'm a Cowboys fan. I just look at how other teams build, and I know for a fact when we had the best O-line in the league, a top tier defense, we got our running back. This is what Jerry saw, but he didn't execute it because he didn't put any leadership in there that somebody took control of that team, man, and said, you know what, let's win a playoff game. So shout out to the Eagles, man. I'm basically just saying all that to say shout out to the Eagles for doing what I believe my team's ownership wanted to do. They just didn't execute it. So shout out to Philly, man. I'm giving Philly flowers today, baby. Hey, look,
Jason Garrett for 10 years.
hey, Josh, if Jason Garrett right now was your manager at work, you gonna listen to this dude, man, or you gonna look at him as a joke, man?
No.
Come on, man. Come on, Josh. That's all I'm saying, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then they basically just run it back with Garrett in the form of Brian Schottenheimer. So
that's my point, bro. So this is the point I'm making, bro. Leadership. I'm a guy that praises coaching on this show. I need to make my own show. Hey, Josh, I said, if you find this out, let me know, bro. We need coach jerseys. Can I get a Ram Sean McVay, baby? I rock one of them. You know what I'm saying? I need to get one.
Always make one, man.
The coaches, man.
I want to get the Andy Reid McDonald's looking freaking jersey, man.
Let's get it. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Cheeseburger on the side, baby. Let's get that cracking, man.
But Fizz, you're setting up a question I wanted to ask Josh. When it comes to, because this is a copycat league, what do you think the rest of the NFL is going to try to do to mimic the winning formula that the Eagles have had over the last few years?
I mean, it starts and ends with the offensive line, right? Like we talk about this so much, especially with, Joe Burrow, right? This dude takes so many sacks, and Cincinnati they cannot get the right offensive lineman in place. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's had a different starting left tackle in every freaking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, it's just like, all right, so what are you doing to fix the offensive line? And that's really where it starts and ends. And this year, it's a pretty deep line class. Like,
especially
a lot of, and defensive line too. Like, defensive tackles this year. Oh my God, there's a lot of solid defensive tackles coming out of this draft. And I think, seeing 6 sacks on Patrick Mahomes, you're going to see a lot of defensive linemen get drafted early. But this is the thing that I think really goes unnoticed. It's kind of like, we always talk about how you can mask a subpar secondary with an elite pass rush, right?
100%.
Well, look at how Philly built this team, especially this year. They spent their early draft picks on corners.
But that's because the D-line was already up. I
agree. The defensive line was really good. But the defensive line, this isn't the same defensive line from 2 years ago that had 70 sacks. This is a very young defensive line. But when you have corners and safeties on the back end that absolutely shut down wide receivers and limit the passing game, that gives young defensive linemen additional time to get the pressure and get to the quarterback.
It's symbiotic. So they work with each other.
It really is. 100%.
It is.
So
it is.
And really, we all know how much of a beast Jalen Carter is. Like, he was double and triple teamed the entire Super Bowl. That's what made things so much easier for Milton Williams. That's what made things so much easier for Josh Sweat. It's the same reason why Jalen Hurts was able to do so well, because the KC defense, they focused on shutting down Barkley. They said Barkley is not going to beat us.
And they gave up everything else. Yeah.
And they gave up everything else. Correct. So, and it was basically the inverse on the defensive side. So, that's what made the defensive line so great. But Quinton Mitchell, they didn't give up anything on the back end until the end of the third quarter. If all you're doing is watching box scores and you see Xavier Worthy with 8 catches, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns, you would think the game was closer than it was. I think he had 2 catches by the 2-minute mark of the third quarter.
They threw the backups in the fourth quarter.
And that's what I'm saying. They put the backups in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Kenny Pickett
got more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Dak.
No, he has more Super Bowl passes.
Super Bowl passes. Yeah, you're right. Not even forget the touchdown. Super Bowl. So, you're right.
That's what I'm getting at. So it's really, I'm going to be very curious to see how teams interpret this, right? Because there's talk with Travis Hunter being a corner versus a wide receiver, right? Mm-hmm. Then you've got the other Michigan kid, Will Johnson, I believe his name is. They're talking about both of those guys in the top 5. Mason Graham, I think his name is, the defensive tackle at Michigan. There's a lot of other defensive tackles that are. Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M shined at the Senior Bowl. dude was off the charts. I can't wait to see the combine with him in 3 weeks. But like, there's going to be so many of these pieces that ultimately end up getting taken probably a little bit sooner because they're going to see what worked in Philly. They're going to see what worked with, Detroit, what worked with Kansas City, what worked with Buffalo, all these different things. Like, teams are going to be paying attention, and they're like, all right, how can we replicate this? But Fizz, just like you said, it all boils down to coaching. It does not matter.
Doesn't matter, bro.
How players are. If you don't have the right scheme in place, if you don't have the right coach that says, all right, this isn't typically how my scheme works, but let's figure out how you can fit and my scheme can fit around you. And that was the one thing that stuck out to me when Ben Johnson got hired to the Bears, because everybody was talking about how Caleb Williams does not fit with what Ben Johnson wants to do. And Ben Johnson said to craft my offense around Caleb Williams. I say this all the time. Don't fit a square peg in a round hole. If Ben Johnson crafts and reshapes that offense around Caleb Williams, Bears offense is going to be really good.
I want to
Go ahead, Rock. Go ahead. I'm gonna finish though. Go ahead, Rock.
I want to see the rest of the NFL try to take a page out of the Eagles drafting book and try to draft more of these white DBs. That might have been one of the biggest keys. They didn't just had one; they had two that were played absolutely amazing throughout the whole season. Shout out to Cooper DeJean and Saqoun Barkley. They won a Super Bowl on their birthday, which is pretty.
Nah, for real. Yeah,
I just love that Cooper DeJean's first career interception was a pick six on Patrick Mahomes
in the Super Bowl.
That is a wild stat, and you cannot ever take that away from me.
You know that Mike, while watching the Super Bowl, he was just losing his mind. Mike is an Iowa guy and a Philly guy.
I know Mike.
So,
well, I will say this, and I go back to say what I said earlier. I'm not saying that they created it, but if I had to give my 2 cents on what Philly is doing and like people copying them, again, I go back to the Cowboys. It looked like Philly said what they were doing with building this O-line, getting their guys in. Philly just did it, but added the extra seasoning and spicing on it of adding leadership, adding coaching, adding structure, not just some big circus of, we in the media every day selling tickets. Philly literally looked at, and I know Howie's a smart guy. I mean, I'm a Dallas guy. We hit on a lot of our draft picks, right? Dallas knows how to draft. One thing I always say, they love knowing how to draft. And they get a lot of
defensive tackles from Michigan
or defensive end from Michigan.
Well, all right. Come on, man. I'm just saying that to say, I think when you talk about copying the blueprint, I'm not saying Dallas created it, but I think Philly being in our division and they watched our O-line being as good as they were and taking the steps we did, Philly just took that and said, you know what? We're going to wipe this line out and then put our own signature on it and build on top of what we saw. And now people got to try to copy their style. But that's easy to say. But again,
it boils down to coaching. There's only one Jeff Stoutland.
For sure.
Straight up. Sure. And you know what? I'll give a shout out to Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was the one that hired Jeff Stoutland.
This is the only good thing he's ever done in his career.
Well, I shout out Chip Kelly for getting rid of that team, man, because to helping us out, not seeing Philly win a Super Bowl earlier, man. So shout out to Chip on that one, man. but outside of Philly, man, we done talked them up. We showed them a lot of love. What can these guys right here do next, man? Because they went out, they did their thing. They, we thought that I ain't gonna lie, I was until proven otherwise, which Philly just proved it. I was rolling with the Chiefs, man, and. No knock on Philly, but I'm gonna always roll with Mahomes because Mahomes is just Mahomes. Andy Reid is Andy Reid. So, the guys didn't win this year. I just think the way they lost though is more significant than them losing. Right? You look at that game, it looked like a very, very bad loss that they took. And I'm gonna just start this conversation off by saying I believe Philly made it really hard for the AFC next year because I think the Chiefs is about to go back in that lab and say, hey, scratch all of this getting by winning by a touchdown or a field goal. That 4,000-yard, 40-point a game, Pat Mahomes, get him in your dynasty leagues, man. Pat Mahomes about to take over this year. I'm putting my stamp on it today. If they went out and traded for a receiver, signed Devontae Adams, drafted a receiver first, I don't know what they're going to do. But I believe they are learning after this Super Bowl. One, we need an offensive line. But two, we've been getting by just playing too much defense and not enough offense. What got us here the other times were offense. Now they realize, yeah, our defense is what we really needed. Because you look over the last 2 years, their defense got way better than what it was. And they didn't need Pat Mahomes to put up 40 points and 4,000 yards. But I believe Pat going to say, look, Andy, all of that defense stuff you had going on was cool, but I need to get back in that lab, baby. So I'm saying that Pat Mahomes, I know he done dropped in our dynasty rankings. He barely in the first round these days. Man, go get you some Pat Mahomes, man. That boy about to take off this year. So I you heard it here. I don't know about first, but you heard it here, man. I'm betting on Pat to be back where he need to be and where he should be. And since we ain't on the Philly time, Josh, I'm gonna see what Rock got going. And I'm gonna let you finish up on the Chiefs, bro.
I do appreciate you've been killing it with the graphics, Fizz, but man, these Chiefs look way too damn happy right now. you needed to pull up some of those pictures from what they looked like after that Super Bowl.
And you know what, bro?
Kelce
I think they ran from the cameras. I couldn't find really a lot of pictures of them.
They would have all been sideline pics.
Yeah, it was nothing. It was nothing clear. It was like, you know,
the best one, Patrick Mahomes going like that one with his lip and stuff like that.
Yeah. I did show him a little bit too, love, Rock. Go ahead.
But yeah, when it comes to the Chiefs, man, I don't know about you guys. It felt like I was having a flashback of the Buccaneers versus the Chiefs. Man, they just completely destroyed that offensive line. And that was been one of the biggest things that they bounced back after that Buccaneers Super Bowl, is that they invested super heavily into that offensive line. But that left tackle and that guard position, they kept flip-flopping all throughout the year because they had one of the most penalized offensive linemen in the NFL. They could not hide them. So that was exposed. That defensive line from the Eagles is going to expose any offensive lineman, even the good ones. But they're going to have to take a huge look at that, and also too the whole offense. I think the defense is plenty good enough. The defense was not the reason why they lost that Super Bowl. When you still have Spags, one of the best coordinators in the entire NFL, I think you have a good recipe when it comes to that. But the offense, man, they just tried to run the ball and play defense all year. They only ran the ball, I think, like 6 times in the freaking Super Bowl, which is absolutely insane. I think
running backs had 7 carries.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see that D line, bro? I think they knew, like, bro, we're not even gonna waste our time with this. Like,
but when you do that, when you already phone it in, it's just like then you become so predictable. They didn't even try. Like Kareem Hunt and Pacheco are good running backs. They completely, I think they just panicked. It's just like, even if you know it's not going to work, man, give Patrick Mahomes a break from getting freaking smashed every 2 seconds.
Yeah,
just let the running back do that. So, but their receivers, they're old. Like it was DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce. Like Marquise Brown came in a little too little too late, did not have the chemistry there. He is not the prototypical, just being in Baltimore. I absolutely love Marquise Brown, but he can't be one of the main wide receivers that you got. Xavier Worthy, they're tiny, fast guys. They're not going to be guys that are going to be physical and win on the outside. So I hope that they are able to draft someone that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical. I think Rashee Rice does offer a little bit of that, but who knows what's going to happen with him. But even with the uncertainty of Rashee Rice with, coming back from injury and also being possibly suspended, this is a not for long league. Things do not stay the same way. So even if the Chiefs are a little bit down coming out the gates because they have to get more offensive weapons, it's when you have Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL, I think you can figure it all out. So I'm excited to see who they bring in, but I don't think this class, when it comes to wide receivers, I don't think there's going to be a huge answer there. I think they're going to have to take a page out of the Eagles book, trade for an A.J. Brown type of wide receiver.
Or me personally, I think with them driving so late, man, they might go. If you look at, I don't mean to cut you off, Josh, but if you look at Kareem Hunt and Pacheco, right? They started off with Pacheco as we thought he was like, this is the guy. Now he is coming from a major injury too, and I know that takes time to get back the way he should be. But remember, he was a 7th round, kind of just something that turned into something that they didn't expect. I wouldn't be surprised if they took a running back early, man, and kind of solidified that running back position as this is our guy. And then they, like you said, the receivers might not be there, especially picking at 31. But if they go out there and try to get there, who they thought Clyde Edwards would be, and get it Omari Hampton and Caleb Johnson, man, that 31 pick, bro, it would not surprise me to see them do that and just stamp that we are going offense, playmaking. I just think the scheme for them, like you said, the defense wasn't the problem. The offense was. And I think Pat being who he is and Andy being who he is, we're not going to go out there and winning by 2-3 points no more, bro. We are going to go out there and put up what we've been doing when Pat was, solidified as that guy. So what you think about this Chiefs team, Josh, and what's next for these guys, man, 2025?
Yeah, it's going to be the offense. I'll echo what T-Rock said. It's, when they lost to the Bucs, they hammered the offensive line, right? You're likely going to see the exact same thing. Trey Smith, their all-pro guard, is a free agent. He's going to get the bag. I mean, the offensive guard salary, got reset this past offseason. Robert Hunt signed for $20 million with Carolina. We extended Landon Dickerson for $21 million. You got an all-pro guard hitting free agency. That dude's going to get $22-23 million. So I think the Chiefs are going to have to pay up, obviously, to get him. And I think the Giants are going to be a team that is going to look really hard at Trey Smith. So they're going to have some competition for him. They got to get Joe Thuney back to guard, which means they got to find a left tackle straight up. Yeah. And outside of Cam Robinson, there's not a free agent option at left tackle. So you got to look the trade market, or you got to identify one of these maybe top 7 offensive tackles to be like, hey, can this guy fit with how we play offense and be our franchise left tackle? Because again, that's something that Patrick Mahomes really has not had. And a lot of the great quarterbacks have all had standout left tackles throughout their careers. So I think those are going to be the 2 biggest points right there, is trying to bring back Trey Smith and then figuring out left tackle. Outside of that, like you mentioned, Fizz, the wide receivers are old. D-Hop was a good trade option, but he's definitely a shell of himself. Juju has never been good. Travis Kelce is well on the way out. So, I mean, you probably need a new tight end, which I think this is a great year for a tight end. It's a pretty top heavy class.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting where they're at 31, Arroyo from Miami. I fucking love that kid. I'm also a Hurricanes fan, so I'm a little biased there. But he's one that showed out during the Senior Bowl as well.
What's up, Jake?
Harold Fannin from Bowling Green. That's another really athletic kid that can probably do some major damage with somebody with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. So, there's going to be some tight end options in this class. This is probably the deepest running back class ever. So I don't even think they need to reach at 31 for a Caleb Johnson type. They could get a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round and still find a way to be really good. I mean, Jamal Charles was, I believe, a 3rd round pick. Shady was a 2nd round pick for Reid. Reid finds tools with these guys. And I think that was his biggest mistake with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He fell in love with, this guy reminds me of Brian Westbrook. He could have got him in the 2nd round. He didn't need to reach for the 3rd round. That didn't work out anyway, so it didn't matter. But,
for sure.
Pacheco, for me, he's nothing special. He was a 7th round pick for a reason. The dude has no vision. He has one gear and it's go. And outside of that, there's no cuts or anything like that. Reid's offense has always been successful with running backs that can move, the jump cuts, the jukes, those types of moves. That is what succeeds in an Andy Reid offense. So he needs to find somebody in this draft. And I haven't dug too deep into this running back class. I just know it's really deep. But to find a guy that can do that, that's what's going to succeed in this offense. But like you said, T-Rock, the wide receiver class sucks this year. So if you're not getting one of the top 4 guys, you got to hit free agency.
Well, I
heard there's a guy in Miami that's pretty unhappy, and he's got a history with Mahomes. I don't know. Just throwing
that's
that
what
out.
I was about to say, Josh. They need Tyreek Hill back. They need to get the band back together. That's when both Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, that's when they took over the league. And he still had plenty of juice in the tank.
Oh, 100% he did. Yeah.
He needs to be.
They just didn't want to pay a wide receiver. That's the problem. But you know what? Wide receivers, they make all the difference. Just look at Philly. They're paying Boku bucks for 2 wide receivers. They made it work. The Chiefs have not shelled out huge money on the defense yet because all those guys are on rookie contracts. So you have the ability to front load a wide receiver contract to get to that point and improve the offense. So I know that Trent McDuffie is going to be up for an extension. I believe it's this year because he's just finished his 3rd season. So like that's going to be a piece that you ultimately pay, right? But outside of that, and Chris Jones, they're not paying anybody on that defense. They're all, value contracts or rookie deals.
Yeah,
it's the same thing on the Philly side right now. Like we haven't shelled out big money to a defender outside of Darius Slay. He's the only one I think on that defense is actually making big money.
Yeah. No,
well, I mean,
season 2025.
Well, I will say, man, as far as the Chiefs go, though, I do believe, me personally, Pat Mahomes about to turn up, and he might let them know it was fun while it lasted. We won a championship with this defensive scheme we had going on, but after getting embarrassed, and like you said, with the same way they lost to kind of like the Bucks, it's time to get back to, this offensive thing and getting back to what we are identity-wise with Andy Reid and Pat. So,
and if Rashee Rice actually like comes back from this injury, him and Xavier Worthy, I think, can be a really exciting duo.
Yeah.
I just don't know that Rashee Rice is going to be 100% in 2025.
But you know what, though, Josh? I think they plan on going to the AFC Championship anyway. They're going to let Rice run, just chill till week 11, week 12. You know what I'm saying?
Probably,
no rush.
Well, but that's the thing is now you need a compliment for Worthy up until that point, right?
I'm with you.
And I think that's going to be the biggest thing is like if you can get, let's say, a Devontae Adams for like 1 year, right? Like that's that bridge, that's that transition to help you get through this season because Adams has not slowed down at all. He still looks absolutely elite. He's transitioning into his Larry.
What about
Fitzgerald
Cooper Kupp? How do you
years,
feel about Cooper Kupp?
He's cooked.
Cooper Kupp looks washed straight up. He looks done.
All right, man. I got to skip,
sorry,
man. I don't like hearing about my boy Kupp, man. My heart hurt after that one, man. So,
both said the same thing.
Nah, bro. They're not trading for Debo, man. Debo washed too, bro. Debo is washed, man.
I don't even think he's washed. He's a playmaker. He's not a wide receiver. He's a terrible route runner.
Yeah, if I think they gave.
Use that though.
I think the reason why they announced this Debo news, if you notice, as soon as that Rodgers news was announced, the Debo trade, let him do his thing announced. And I believe that was the 49ers saying, or Devontae Adams by the lead of Jets, let's let Debo go and bring him over here to Cali. So he already said he wanted to stay in Cali from what I heard, and he's looking like the Rams or maybe the 49ers. So we'll see. But let's head over to Kansas City, man. If I'm him, I'm looking at Brock Purdy and I'm looking at Matt Stafford. Let me call Pat Mahomes first and just see what's good,
right.
So we'll see what's up with that, man. But before we get up out of here too early, too soon, man, I wanted to bring up, which we didn't speak on, the NFL honors, man. I don't know if y'all actually watched them. I didn't watch it. I just kind of got all the alerts about what happened and who won. Jayden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Was that a surprise to anyone? Do we think, one, we know he was an Offensive Rookie of the Year, but if you could have, let's just say, taken him out, who was like the closest 2 to 3 to you guys? I know Brock Bowers got a vote. That's why Jayden didn't get it unanimously. And then, of course, Bo Nix had a great season too. But between Brock and Bo, who do y'all think kind of had the better season as far as their rookie season go?
I think Bo Nix was the most surprising because I think there were a lot of people that were doubting his ability to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So
especially coming out the Senior Bowl.
Like he was a lot of fun to watch this year and very much a Sean Payton type quarterback. Brock Bowers, for everything that he did, I mean, he's Offensive Rookie of the Year if Jayden Daniels doesn't exist. Straight up. Like, it's not even close in my opinion.
Okay.
But, I mean, Jayden Daniels did everything to win that award.
Oh, yeah.
I put no disrespect on that. He was absolutely lights out. He was so fun to watch, except when he was playing Philly.
Well, coming into the season, though, Josh, what did you have him in your QB rankings? Did you have him in your top? Well, I know you had him top 3, but what was your order, your top 3 order as quarterbacks?
Overall or rookies?
Rookies. I'm saying rookies. Yeah, the rookies.
Yeah, Daniels was my 2. I had Caleb Williams and then Jayden Daniels.
Okay. All right. Well, I know Rock got swindled. He had Jayden as his number 1, and he let the people change his mind, and He went through it. He had the
And
battle.
Drake
I
Yes,
know.
too.
Mike was all on board the Jayden Daniels train very early. We had him on a lot of
yeah.
our off-season shows, and he was all on board Jayden
I was
Daniels.
too scared about the offensive line. Apparently, that didn't mean shit. Everyone's like, they got the worst offensive line. Didn't
Once
matter.
Honestly, I
he-
was just worried about Cliff Kingsbury because I don't think he's a good play caller.
Oh, hey, look,
Oh,
you on the wrong. Hey, look, go ahead,
This is
Rob.
the
Go ahead.
biggest Cliff guy on the planet. It didn't matter what
listen.
he did in Arizona. It didn't matter what he did in college. He loved the guy.
Hey, Josh, listen, I said this, and I was a Jayden Daniels. Once he went to Cliff, I said, oh, it's over with. Jayden Daniels the man. And this is why. I give Cliff his flowers because I say this. When he was in Arizona, he had a young, dysfunctional Kyler Murray who was all over the place, playing Call of Duty every month. We don't know what was going on, right? Now, he goes to college. Well, he left, he went to college, but now he has a young Jayden Daniels rookie season. Cliff has yet to be able to get a Matt Stafford, a Dak Prescott, a Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't had a seasoned guy, a Kirk Cousins, a guy that he can say knows the game. He been dealing with two rookies that he kind of had to grow with them and go through the process of highs and lows. So when people talk about his late game woes and how he's not good later in the season, I believe that's just rookie fatigue and him trying to coach up a young guy who's kind of still learning the game. If you gave Cliff a guy that's been around for 6-7 seasons and was seasoned to know the process, I think Cliff is a good guy, man. Everybody know I love some Cliff. That's my dog. I wanted him to go to Atlanta to be their head coach. I thought he would have did a better job than Raheem Morris. And ultimately, he ended up with my boy J-Day. And yeah, man. So you on the wrong time with Cliff with me, Josh, man. I love you some Cliff. That's my guy.
That's fine. When I was going through and doing my offseason projections, I definitely went a little under on Jayden. I mean, but I had him over 3,000 passing yards. I had him at I think 19 touchdowns, so I was about 6 short on that. And I was about 90 rushing yards short because I had him at 805 and he had 891 and 6. And I came in at about 400 or so passing yards down. So I really wasn't that far off from a projection standpoint. He slotted in as my QB 17, and that's only because I don't take injuries into an equation. But anytime you have a quarterback that's going to rush for 800 yards, they're probably going to finish top 7. That's just, that's how the cookie crumbles. I'm not naive to that. But one thing that we were preaching on our show all off season when the price was consistently driving up on Anthony Richardson, we were just don't take Richardson, wait and take Daniels. That was literally our mantra all season. And
I wish I would have watched that more. Jeez, we were all on the A-Rich train here at South Harmon. But Fizz, for me, it has to be Brock Bowers. If Jayden Daniels does not win this, I mean, he was in the same discussion with Jamar Chase when it came to catches and all those yards he was producing. He just didn't get the touchdowns, but that was just because the
Raiders didn't score a lot of touchdowns. So
they didn't score anything like that. But we got spoiled as hell when it came to this year. I mean, we also had Bucky Irvin and BTJ and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
And Lad McConkey.
BTJ is another one.
Yeah. So
he could have won it any other year too.
Yeah, this was just a tough year when it came to rookies as far as just who was going to win it. It was just
but they all made the Pro Bowl, so they got some kind of accolades.
Yeah, they got a little bit of love. Well, the next one is, of course, Offensive Player of the Year, Saqoun Barkley. No questions behind that. Could have been the MVP if he wasn't a running back and maybe the quarterback, but no arguments with that one. No one even close, right? I say this.
No, I disagree with that. I think Lamar Jackson had a very good.
Well, that's because Lamar Jackson was supposed to win another freaking.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're gonna talk about that, but I will say this though. I heard that Jamar Chase didn't even get a vote for offensive.
That was wild. He won
wild.
the receiving triple crown and didn't.
He didn't get one vote.
Your vote.
Didn't get a vote. Didn't get a contract. Didn't get shit.
If you want a wide receiver 1 for next year in fantasy, sign me the fuck up for Jamar Chase because this great season has gone disrespected. Jamar Chase is taking,
especially if T. Higgins leaves. Oh my god!
Yeah. So for him to not
might
get
be
a
the
vote.
First 2,000-yard wide receiver. I'm willing to bet money on that.
Finally, we need one.
Yeah, that was wild. Well, speaking of Joe Burrow, I said speaking of Joe Burrow. Speaking of Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow won Comeback Player of the Year, and I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know this guy was even up for this. I'm like, how does this even happen, man? What? I think they wanted
last year.
I think with the season he had, they just had to give him something, bro. Because I'm gonna be honest. I thought I don't know the criteria of this award. I know Joe Flacco won it by playing like 6 games last year. So I don't look at Joe Burrow as a comeback player because honestly, if he plays a full season, this is what he's supposed to do. Like he's supposed to do this. So I don't know if it's technically a comeback to me. I don't know. I don't even know who he's a runner.
Fizz, you don't remember Jake Browning playing all those games?
That's what I'm saying. He missed games last year, and that's ultimately what this boiled down to. So
they almost made the playoffs with Jake Browning.
I'm with you, bro. But this is the point I'm
didn't
making.
Make the playoffs with this season of Joe Burrow.
Hey, so this is the point I'm making, right? Yes, Joe Burrow had a hell of a season, but Joe Flacco didn't. We don't expect him to do anything, and he came in and took this team to another level. That's a comeback player to me, a guy that we didn't expect this from, and he comes in and does his thing. So I just don't know how you
definition Fizz. You would have picked Sam Darnold then.
100%.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Because I'm gonna say
I think you can make that case too. 100%. I was not. I faded Justin Jefferson, and by that I had him as like my wide receiver 7. Like, it wasn't like I really faded him. Like he was still a first round guy in my opinion in fantasy. But yeah, because Sam Darnold, like.
Yeah, I mean,
Sam Darnold's gonna make Justin Jefferson legit, but no, Justin Jefferson made Sam Darnold legit, so it works.
I'm just saying, how do you look at the last 2 seasons of this award and say Joe Flacco won last year and Joe Burrow won the next year? That's not even a comparison. If you look, what is the criteria of the award? Is what I'm saying, and I don't think Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and I feel like it changes every year. Truthfully,
they shouldn't give it to guys that have been shitty throughout most of their career and then land on a good team like Sam Darnold. It has to be Joe Burrow with this award because he's the only player not to win MVP that's thrown for over 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. So. Well, I think he just happens to be playing in an era with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. They needed to give him something.
And Jalen Hurts. Put some respect on the name.
You're right.
Hey, listen,
you're right.
Man,
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna say this, man. This dude is still making Home Alone 5 right now. I guess they had to give him something, man. Who knows? I don't know what's going on.
Man, he was born looking like Macaulay.
Shout out to
anything with that.
Shout out Burrow, man.
I can't wait for the Joe Burrow biopic. It's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, for sure. We might have already watched it, man. From the 90s up, we've been watching our whole lives for real. But shout out my boy, man. I'm an FSU guy, man. Jared Verse with the defensive rookie of the year. Oh, yeah. I think he well earned that one, and I believe the Rams with those, F those picks. They've been making a lot of great picks. In the last couple of years, man, last 2 years at least. So to see Jared Verse get this, though, he had a hell of a season. And regardless of his numbers, his impact on that team to me is what I see every time. Like he's disruptive on every play. His playoff game, he looked good against Philly. He looked good against I forgot who they played the first round, but Jared Verse was one of them dudes, man. They created a problem over there
Minnesota.
Taking him. So Minnesota, there you go.
You already forgot about Sam Darnold.
Hey, shout out my boy Samuel, man. But Jared Verse won that one, man. Did y'all have anybody coming up with him, or it was just he deserved
it? Quinyanimo Bay, baby.
Oh yeah.
Put some respect on Quentin Mitchell, man. Mitchell balled out. The problem is that quarterbacks weren't throwing to him, so he wasn't getting interceptions. He absolutely locked down half the defense.
And you know what, Josh?
The best wide receivers in the NFL, he was covering.
Yeah.
And none of them did anything against him.
Yeah.
None of them.
You're right.
Like, to me, Jared Verse won this because he actually padded the stats.
You know what, Josh? You got that. You got that.
So.
Well, I'm going to say this, though. I believe also, Quinn, when you look at the overall defense, people are going to say, Mitchell's defense is a little better than what Jared had, and the impact might have been different if, that D-line and, it's other factors. But I'm with you, though, to say...
No, there's always other factors, and I get that. And, I mean, it really, they were the top 2 vote getters for this award.
Yeah.
So, really, it's dealer's choice, right? Like, but the way that, as old as Darius Slay is, like, teams were challenging him. They weren't...
Right.
Like, when Quinyon Mitchell shut down Jamar Chase had one catch for like 5 yards against Quinyon Mitchell.
Shut down everybody,
like,
right?
If you're shutting down the best wide receiver in the NFL, quarterbacks take notice. I don't want anything to do with that kid.
Nah, you're right. Damn, I'm a little sad I missed out on that one. You're right. I'm with you on that one.
I think that speaks to he just didn't get enough publicity. That's for whatever reason, whatever it is. A lot of these awards, they go to the most highly publicized players and stuff like that. So the Rams, they did a great job of, marketing and documenting their draft days and stuff like that. So everyone knew about Jared Verse. And
Jared Verse is a talker too. Like that's that Florida State mentality. It's very similar to Miami. Like those cats run their mouths.
Oh, you know that.
And Jared Verse runs his mouth. Look what happened when the Rams came to Philly, and he's talking about, oh, I hate Philly, blah blah blah.
Yeah. You're right.
How'd that work out for him?
You're right.
And Verse also too is crazy. He's the only Pro Bowler for the Rams. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And he's a rookie. So, but here's the thing: Quinyon Mitchell, he's going to be more likely to win a defensive MVP in his career than Verse is. So he didn't win it this year for the rookie, but man, it's going to be over the next couple of years. That's the only thing I don't see down here is where's the defensive MVP?
Hold on, brother. I was just about to say I don't have that graphic up. But we are going to talk about Surtain winning that because, like you just said, you just kind of segue into that conversation. A cornerback winning it, and the stat pattern really doesn't happen at the cornerback position unless you're getting pick sixes.
Especially with shutdown corners.
It's the opposite. It's the least amount of stats.
Unless you're doing a trick, Diggs getting 7-8 interceptions for touchdowns. Outside of that, you're not going to get your stats padded at the cornerback position. And Surtain, man, was locked down, shut down. He was that dude, man. And again, damn, Josh, you done made me. We gotta get Mitchell a little bit more flowers, though, bro. That boy was out there cooking, man. But I will say, Rock, you hit it on the nail with forget the rookie of the year, the MVP. I mean, the defensive MVP is more likely a position. Award for him in later years. So with Surtain though winning it, man, I'm not sure. I know TJ Watt was high early and he kind of dwindled down. I didn't hear much about him. I know Myles Garrett said that he is the MVP of the league as far as defense goes. But what you guys think about the defensive side? Who should have won that? Was it Surtain or?
Yeah. When we talked about this earlier in the year, Surtain, he was cooking all season long.
Was killing, bro.
He stayed consistent. It's not just because of Bo Nix, making magic happen on the offensive side for the Broncos. Surtain has been a shutdown corner for multiple years, and then he put it together this season and finally got the flowers that he deserved. So I definitely, if I had a vote, I was going to pick Surtain over TJ Watt.
Okay. What you think, Josh?
I love Surtain. I think he's probably the quintessential cornerback one in the NFL.
Okay.
I would have voted Trey Hendrickson. I think he has been so insanely overlooked over the years. 17 and a half sacks this year.
Killing.
And honestly,
he was killing, bro. I think the playoffs hurt.
I feel like, well, and that's what it boils down to, right? Like, did he impact the team because they didn't make the playoffs? Like, and I don't really know what goes into the heads of voters for this specific award because, it's defensive player of the year, right? It's not defensive most valuable player. So like, are you putting stats? Are you looking at overall team impact? All these different types of things. But like Trey Hendrickson, the rest of this Bengals defense was straight up ass. And
hot doo-doo.
All teams had to do was put 3 people on Trey Hendrickson, and he still led the league in sacks.
You're right.
If that's not a defensive player of the year, I don't know what is, in my opinion. I really don't.
You cooking, Josh.
And with Patrick Surtain, like you talk about him being a shutdown corner, shutdown corners don't get thrown at. And he somehow still had 4 interceptions. So, like, very impressive. And I'm not taking anything away from Pat Surtain. But I don't know. For me, it's Trey Hendrickson this year. Like my guy Joe, on no pun intended, he's one of the biggest Trey Hendrickson stands that I've ever met. If you can have stands on defensive players, but like he's always been a defensive guy, and he's been screaming Trey Hendrickson from the rooftops for years. I would have loved to have seen him get some love, and I mean he did finish second this year, so good for him. But it would have been nice to get a little bit of hardware considering the season.
He's going to get some love in the off season. He's probably
he's up for an extension, so we'll see if the Bengals actually shell out to give it to him. But
he gonna get the bag. He gonna get
cheap
the bag.
Ass Cincinnati.
Yeah, right.
Well, the last 2 are a little controversial for me, man. I love this guy. He's one of my guys. I love my coaches. But Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year, I get it, the Sam Darnold narrative, but man, can we just go ahead and hook Dan Campbell up though, bro? To be the coach in Detroit, man, and finally have a team like this, like they've been suffering for so long. To see him get over the hump, and now they are probably, top 2 favorite team for the last 2 years, or at least coming into this year and next year. Can we just give Dan Campbell a little bit of love, man? Get him some hardware for making people believe in Detroit again, man. So, what was y'all thoughts on the coach of the year? Who was your guys? I know my boy. I love me some Kevin O'Connell. That's my guy. But I believe Dan Campbell, man. What he's brought to Detroit from going 0-16 to 0-17 to finally now, like I said, coming in next year as a top 1, 2, 3 team, man. That deserves a little bit of hardware to me, man. So what y'all think on this one right here, this award?
I think Kevin O'Connell, he is deserving of it, as well as oh man, I just had his name in my head and it just totally left.
There you go.
But
he must not deserve it then if you can't remember.
Right?
But the guy Dan Quinn, out of Washington, I think that if I had a vote,
I rock with Dan.
Just the way that he assembled that team. He took them from a 4-win team to the most wins they had in, what was it, 19 years?
30 years.
30 years. Okay.
Yeah. They didn't win over 11 games in 30 years, bro.
Jeez. So, and to do it with a rookie quarterback as well. Jayden Daniels is the truth, but just to assemble all those freaking new pieces and completely turn them around and then beat the guy that we're also talking about with Motor City Dan Campbell. I think that Dan Quinn, he deserves a lot more flowers than what he got. But yeah, those 3 coaches that we're talking about with Detroit, Minnesota, and Washington, I think those are the 3 front runners. But for me, Dan Quinn.
Okay. What do you think, Josh?
No, I would agree with T-Rock. To me, the top 2 guys were Kevin O'Connell and Dan Quinn. Like the thing with Dan Campbell, like I get what you're saying, Fizz. You give the flowers, this team was 0-16 3 years ago, et cetera, whatever. It's not a cumulative award. It's a single season award, right? On paper, Detroit was supposed to be the best team in the NFC. Right. And he coached them there. That's great. Awesome. He did his job, what he was supposed to do.
For sure.
Sam Darnold has been ass for years, his entire career. Nobody expected Minnesota to even be a playoff team with Sam Darnold.
For sure.
Because Sam Darnold wasn't supposed to be the quarterback all season. It was supposed to be J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and coaches his team to 14 wins. Same thing that T-Rock said about Dan Quinn. This team won 4 games last year.
Yeah.
Bring in a rookie quarterback who you don't know how a rookie quarterback is going to perform, even if they are the 2nd overall pick. This defense was terrible last year. Quite honestly, they weren't that good this year.
I was about to say,
and
on
they
paper,
still
they
won
still
12
good. Yeah, you're right.
So to me, those were the 2 teams that should have been in the conversation. Their coaches for Coach of the Year.
All right.
I will say
this: if I had to pick between the 2, Dan Quinn definitely deserve it. I will say that. I ain't knocking my guy O'Connell because that's my dog, but Dan Quinn, we're gonna get the Quinn flowers today. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, because you look at all the teams that ended up winning games, right? Like McDermott with Buffalo, 13 wins. We expected them to be there. Buffalo, John Harbaugh, not Buffalo, Baltimore, 12 wins. They expected him to, we expect him to be there. DeMeco Ryans, Texans, 10 wins. Honestly, they underperformed for a lot of them. Kansas City. Andy Reid should be a Coach of the Year candidate every year, right? Because he's that good of a coach. But you only take notice when he wins 10 games versus 15, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the same thing like Nick Sirianni. Everybody was calling for his head after 4 games this year. Leads them to 14 wins and ultimately wins the Super Bowl. Like, you could put him into the conversation. He didn't even get a fucking vote.
Yeah.
So like that's what I'm saying. So, when I'm looking at Coach of the Year, I'm looking at the preseason. I'm looking at who is not a playoff team. And then by the end of the year, who is a playoff team? Because those are the coaches that deserve consideration.
That's why Sean McVay is always going to be in that discussion as well. But for me, Dan Campbell, if I had a second vote, I would give it to him before O'Connell, only because you bring up how good that team was on paper, but how many red lines got crossed through those defensive players throughout the season and ended up in the IR. So they had a huge, huge hill to climb with those 16 players on defense on IR, which is absolutely insane. And they still made it to where they got it. So that's the way that they traversed that situation. And, Dan Campbell the entire time was just like, he didn't care. He's just like, we're going to play with the players that we got. And we're going to put them in a place to succeed, and they're going to go out and perform and play football. So that's why, like, I absolutely love Dan Campbell. I hope that he can get over the hump. He's just been super freaking unlucky. But if they get Myles Garrett next year with Aiden Hutchinson, that'd be awesome.
Hey, Rod, man, let's not talk that out loud, brother. All right, let's move on, man. You talking crazy. But now, shout out to Dan. I do think now y'all done kind of made me. I respected Dan. I rock with Dan too. But last but not least, man, Josh Allen, most valuable player. And Josh, you just spoke on this. It was not about what we thought or what we kind of. Nah, I'll take that back. Because it's not like we didn't expect Lamar to not be in the conversation. But the guy statistically had the best year he's ever had in his career. He was labeled as the MVP almost without a doubt throughout the whole season. It was mostly him and Saquon, and Josh kind of came in a little bit. It was back and forth between them two. But I think ultimately, and I think Lamar is key. He could look himself in the mirror and say this: if I would have beat him, it wouldn't have been no question. But when I lost to him in the playoffs, no matter if it don't count, because regular season is what the award is for. In the public's eye, if I would have beat Josh Allen in that playoff game, I would have won this award. But I lost to him, so he can have it. I think that's Lamar's ego right now, telling him like, look, I wanted the award, but I really wanted the Super Bowl more than all of this. But since I didn't make the Super Bowl and I lost to Josh, he can have the MVP. I don't even care about it. And I think he could look himself in the mirror and say that. Me personally, I think it's Lamar Jackson's trophy or award, whatever you want to call it, to kind of lose at this point. And he lost it to Josh, but since your name is Josh, how you feeling about your brother Josh Allen over there, man? And what you thought about this pick with him getting it?
So I look at it a few different ways. Because truthfully, the turnaround, and again, maybe this is me being biased. My MVP is Saquon, straight up. Like I get the great season that Lamar had. I get the great season that Josh Allen had. But like Saquon led a renaissance for the running back position. And when you look at the turnaround from last year's Eagles team, the 1-6 collapse, the first round bounce in the playoffs, you drop basically just one player into this offense and it completely changed. That is value. That is an MVP in my opinion. But on the subject of the quarterbacks, I'm not going to debate Lamar's statistical season because straight up, if all you're doing is looking at statistics, he's the MVP in my opinion. This is the only way that I would look at it differently in favor of Josh Allen. People did not expect Buffalo to be this good this year because of the veterans that they jettisoned in the offseason, right? They basically said, Josh, we need you to lead us. We need you to basically be for us what Lamar Jackson is for Baltimore. Mm-hmm. He did it with what should have been a good tight end who turned into a bad tight end. He did it with a rookie wide receiver that can't separate. He did it with a slot receiver that, by all accounts, isn't great, but is fun to watch. And James Cook, who couldn't score touchdowns, as I was told, right? And then, ties for the league lead in rushing and total.
And traded for Amari Cooper, who did absolutely nothing when he got there. I don't know.
Exactly. Didn't even have 300 yards receiving, right? Damn. This was Josh Allen's team. This was his offense. This is him being the star. But when you look at the stats that Lamar put up, and then you factor in, you know what? Josh Allen didn't play the equivalent of 2 games because they were up so much that they sat him in a bunch of fourth quarters. Maybe if he plays all those fourth quarters, Josh Allen has better stats than Lamar Jackson. So Lamar ended up having to play all of these games because the overall aspect of the team wasn't maybe as good, or they didn't take advantage of situations the way that Buffalo did. So to me, that's the argument for the value proposition, right? So
respect.
And again, like you look at point differentials and stuff, both of these teams were at plus 157. So like, was one quarterback exponentially better for their respective team than the other?
Yeah.
I think that's up for debate. Sure. But it truly, you can make the case for it. If you just want to look at the box scores, then yes, it's Lamar Jackson. But you can make the case for Josh Allen. I'm not mad about Josh Allen winning. I do think it's weird as all hell that Lamar Jackson was the first team All-Pro quarterback, but didn't win the MVP. That still just baffles me.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, it could have
when
been
the same people are voting on the award.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, Rock is a Ravens fan, so I want to let him speak on this last, brother. How you feeling, man, about this robbery that I'm sure you ultimately feel was robbed from?
I was just as surprised as Ian Rappaport when he freaking reported it. He's like, in a shocking turn of events, Josh Allen, everyone, I think, expected Lamar Jackson to win this.
The odds even shifted to Lamar after, what was it, like week 15 or something?
Yeah, and I feel bad just telling, people on the cook up, you need to put in your votes for your bets for Lamar Jackson.
You owe us some money, brother.
The historical season that he was having. Sarah Ellison, she reports for the Ravens, and I've talked about these stats before. I'm going to say them again. In 2024, first quarterback ever to throw 4,000 plus yards, rush for 900 plus yards. First quarterback ever to have 40 plus touchdowns and fewer than 5 interceptions. 119.6 passer rating. Fourth best in NFL history. This historic season resulted in nothing at the NFL honors. No MVP, no Offensive Player of the Year, nothing. So this is
be a footnote in history.
Yeah, that's it. And this goes back to probably my biggest problem with the MVP award. It is a subjective award because you get so many arguments about like people want to just say like, oh, well, if this player wasn't on this team or they had to deal with more, deal with less and all this other kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff is extremely, extremely subjective. If you take any of these quarterbacks off their team, of course they're going to be, terrible teams and stuff like that. Unless you want to argue for Saqoun Barkley, who led his team to the playoffs. He was the most valuable player on the Eagles throughout the entire season. But with Lamar Jackson having the best season, not only in his career, and he's a 2-time MVP winner before, he's done less in those seasons. To have even better season, to have one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a quarterback ever, and to win All-Pro, like you were mentioning earlier, and to not win MVP, it's just like, I care more. Yeah, it is. So I care more about, for me personally, maybe it's just because I'm an analytics guy, I need to see the stats, I need to see the numbers and stuff like that, because I don't like the water cooler subjective bullshit. It's just like, I just want to see the person that accomplishes the most. So we know that, when they come out with the top 100, that Lamar Jackson is going to be holding that big ass trophy and stuff like that, where that says number 1 on it. But outside of that, I think you brought up earlier, Fizz, Patrick Mahomes having a fire lit under his ass. There is going to be no quarterback that has more of a fire lit under his ass than Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like, okay, all right, fine. You don't want to mention me. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. So it's just like,
sign me up for career year 2025.
Exactly.
I'm all in.
My biggest thing, and I say this all the time, when you want to dethrone the champ in a sense, you have to really, it shouldn't be a comparison, right? So I'm not saying that Josh doesn't deserve it because he had a hell of a season, especially, I'm not going to lie, Josh, I don't know if you knew this, but my bold take was Josh Allen wouldn't finish as the top 8 quarterback. So it was very bold. Yeah,
Josh had the same face.
I will say it out loud. I'm letting people know I was
he was
hella
still
wrong.
QB2, wasn't he?
I was hella wrong. You know
no, you didn't expect that.
So I will say I was wrong, but I will say if when it comes to boxing, right? When it comes to the scores and what, if this guy has the championship belt, if you don't clearly beat him, I'm not giving you I can't give you the win. And I felt like this is the championship belt battle between, no knock on Saquon, but we talking quarterbacks because they always win a position. Lamar and Josh. If Josh didn't clearly beat him, I got to give it to Lamar. And that's not just the Lamar fan talking. That's just me saying that Lamar won it 2 years in a row. What did he do to lose it versus win it? You know what I'm saying? If Josh didn't take it from him and actually make me believe that he doesn't deserve it as far as taking it from Lamar, man, I got to keep going with who was that guy that already has it and what did he do to lose it? And I don't think Lamar did anything to lose it as far as, what Josh Allen did to take it from him. So that's my take on it.
So I read on The Athletic, I think it was Mike Sando. I don't want to miscredit, but where like I guess the prevailing perception was very similar to Jokic in the NBA, where he was clearly the best player, but didn't have any of that playoff success.
Okay.
And at a certain point,
that's what
the
happened.
Regular season awards, the accolades, and all that stuff, they stop meaning things to voters because at this point you just expect it.
Like coaching,
and until that playoff success starts kicking in, the regular season accolades are just going to be meh.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I'm curious to see if that kind of continues to hold true.
And that's why I believe, again, if Josh Allen would have lost to Pat Mahomes in the round and Lamar lost to a different team, then it wouldn't have mattered. But to lose to Josh Allen, I think that's ultimately what hurt him. If you would have lost to any other playoff team, he might have won the award. But I think,
well, and keep in mind too, both the Bills and the Ravens played Kansas City. Lamar lost to Kansas City. Josh Allen beat Kansas City
by a freaking toe. They lost by a toe.
I know, but I'm just saying an L is an L, right? So because I'm with you, like I thought, the Ravens would get their shot to play Kansas City. Like if you lose by a toe, you could beat them in the playoffs. But again, like Mark Andrews dropping the 2-point conversion, they don't get that opportunity to go.
Don't remind me,
man. After seeing that the Chiefs get absolutely destroyed by the Eagles, how the hell did the Chiefs beat the freaking Bills, man? It's crazy.
Because Mahomes
Sean McDermott cannot coach football in the second half of games.
Bro, the Bills lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, man. The curse isn't gone yet, man. They lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, and they lost 4, I believe, AFC championships to Pat Mahomes or some crazy stat they got. I don't remember what it was, but it's a crazy stat where they just 0-4 all over across the board, brother. So it's still alive, it's still here, and it ain't going nowhere, man. So, man, Josh, man, we appreciate you coming on the Cook Up, brother. Before you get out of here, though, I definitely, again, want you to holler at the people, man. Let them know where to find you, where you at. And also, we want to give Club Fantasy FFL a little bit of love, man. We know y'all do a lot of stuff with the women. That's one thing I wanted to bring up today. I even wore my pink on for the ladies, So y'all do a lot of things for the women that's in the space and talking football. Before you get out of here, bro, speak a little bit on that, man, and how we can kind of support the ladies through their process of this game that we call fantasy football and sports.
Yeah, absolutely. So Women of Fantasy Football, it's our sister site with Club Fantasy FFL. Give them a follow. We've got YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's at women_of_FF. You can check out the website, womenoffantasyfootball.com. We had 4 amazing representatives covering the Super Bowl this year. We're going to have a team going to the Combine as well as the NFL Draft as well. We've been blessed to be able to get NFL media credentials, but shout out to Kelly Singh, Samantha Holt from Matthew Bear's Fantasy Life, Cooter Doodle. We know her as Amanda, but you guys probably know her as Cooter Doodle, also from Fantasy Life. And of course, one of our own, Renee. They were at the Super Bowl this year and just absolutely crushed the content. I always love when like industry stalwarts kind of give us shout outs and take note on what we're doing with Women of Fantasy, because that tells me that the right people are taking notice. And when they're going through and putting out tweets and stuff like, hey, you guys need to be following Women of Fantasy Football because they are absolutely killing the content right now. One of Kelly's posts actually got picked up by Entertainment Tonight.
Okay.
And absolutely blew up. So, shout out to her. And I mean, Sam does absolutely amazing with these interviews, and Amanda is so much fun because we know her personality, but her being a big Saints fan, like we definitely wanted to get her in here because, she's not far from New Orleans, but she knows the area. And Renee representing for NFL Mexico, like doing the things she does in Spanish language that helps us reach a very different market as well. I know Renee went to the draft for us last year. Kelly's going to be going to the Combine this year. We've got some other people. Hopefully Wendy should be able to go back to the Combine as well. And I believe we're going to have one new representative with us for the Combine. So, but yeah, definitely make sure you're checking out on Instagram, especially. Faith runs the Instagram account and I help her kind of run the Twitter account. But, we're always sharing stories and posts and all those types of things and trying to give shout outs because, women know this game too, and, this macho mentality of like, oh, women shouldn't be, covering games that they can't play and blah, 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 this and that. Did y'all watch the NFL flag football commercial? Homegirl doing a Saquon backwards leap, like straight up. Women can do this. They're rock stars. So show some love for that. We'll have our WAF podcast in August where we raise scholarship funds for Laura Oakman's Galvanize. If you're unfamiliar with Laura Oakman, she's an NFL on Fox reporter. She covers the Super Bowl for Westwood One Radio. And then Galvanize also has a spot on Radio Row. And we've got a great relationship with all those ladies. And I absolutely love and adore Laura. So we'll raise money for the scholarships. We always raffle off like signed jerseys every year. And every year we've been able to raise more and more money. So that's the biggest key. We want to try and give women as much opportunities to be successful in the space, and partnering with a legend like Laura helps us do that.
Yeah, like I said, that was one of my things. I said, we don't talk about nothing else my boy Josh got going on. We got to make sure we talk about, one, introduce him to the people, show a little bit of love, but also get on the, the women's thing, because I know that's a big component over there in Club Fantasy. And, I'm glad we got that added in there, bro. So, as far as yourself go, you got anything else you want to say, man, before we head up out of here, man?
Don't even worry about following me. Just follow Women in Fantasy Football, follow Club Fantasy. Everything I do is with those two sites, and everybody involved, they deserve much more love than me, because I just get on a podcast. I do a little writing every once in a while, but they're the true heroes. They're the ones that go through and drive the content bus. So at Club Fantasy FFL, all across the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whole 9 yards. ClubFantasyFFL.com is the website. We just had an article drop today from my guy Hoove. He's going through and doing a quarterback preview, kind of figure out the musical chairs at the quarterback position over the next, over this offseason.
Yeah.
So he's got different ones dropping each and every week, and I'll probably have one dropping tomorrow. Actually, it's my Fixer Upper series where I try to turn some unfriendly offenses into fantasy friendly offenses. So
okay. All right. Well, shout out my boy Hoove, man. I know I told the Gator before. I told him I was gonna have him come through, man, one of these days. So I get.
He just got a new job, man. I can't even get him on a show.
Oh damn! Hey, well, I'm gonna try before you try, bro. I'm gonna see if I can get it cracking, man. Rock, before we get out of here, bro, how you feeling, man?
Well, we have enough love here between me and Fizz and South Harmon. We do want to show you some love, Joshua. So we do really appreciate you coming on and, celebrating these Eagles. Also, too, before we forget, I do want to celebrate the halftime show from the Super Bowl. Kendrick Lamar put on one of the best halftime shows that I have ever seen. It was only a 9 out of 10, though. When he did Peekaboo, he did not do my favorite part of the song, the beep, bop, boop, bop, beep, bop, bang. That he was this close to doing my favorite part of the song, and then they cut to another part. It would have been a 10 out of 10 show.
There we go.
Tune in Friday. I know that you and Mike are going to go through
the
best halftime shows and
me
stuff
and Mike
like
gonna
that.
break it down. Yep.
So people need to tune in for that. But yeah, if it wasn't for the food, it wasn't for all my friends that I had over, and it wasn't for that halftime show, man, that Super Bowl would have sucked. Just between the game and the commercials. You brought up the flag.
Yeah, the commercials weren't all that. Yeah.
I saw one from Jeep with Harrison Ford that was
fun.
Cool. But outside of that, man, we need to get some writers up in these commercials and stuff like that. Between the commercials, between movies over the last 5 years, we need to get those writers from HBO. Let them cook up with some of these commercials and stuff like that. But
we always go through when we do our prop bet Super Bowl show, and we always talk about commercials and stuff. And I remember one of them was like which car commercial is going to be first or whatever. And I swear I don't even think I saw one until that Jeep commercial. I think it was the only car commercial in the entire Super Bowl. That blew my freaking mind.
I think people
blew my
are
mind.
starting to get overrated, bro. I think the commercials.
The Super Bowl spots are getting so much more expensive.
Yeah, that's what
people are talking about. Yeah. Oh, I'm boycotting the Super Bowl. I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes again. Blah blah blah. Again, most watched Super Bowl ever.
Oh yeah,
these narratives, like people want to come. Oh, I'm not going to watch the games,
bro. That's
bullshit. You're going to watch the.
I was about to say they got an app on their phone. They not watching on TV, but they on their phone in the corner. Like, I gotta watch this, man. Come on.
But also too, like, people are releasing their Super Bowl commercials before the Super Bowl.
You're right.
And spoiling it, right?
And also the internet
commercial was fun just mostly because of the last line with Harrison Ford. But like there was no T-Mobile commercial. Like the last few years where they've had Zach and Donald from Scrubs, like those have been great. They didn't have that this year. they just didn't really have a lot of star power in some of these commercials, and it was really disappointing.
Stunk. Harmon spent $24 million on some old ass farts from a movie that came out 30 years ago. Who gives a shit?
Bro, listen, they had a commercial with mayo, about mayo, bro. I don't need to see you spent $8 million to sell me some mayo on the Super Bowl.
Well, they spent more than that to get Billy Crystal.
$24 million.
I'm just saying, man. I'm
also
cool.
Too, I almost gagged when I saw how much freaking mayo she put on her sandwich. She screamed.
I was waiting for the Will Levis cameo, honestly.
Oh my god! Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, nah, for real, man. But look, man, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming through, Josh, man. But I guess this is the Eagles episode. This is the end of a chapter. The bird's nest has tipped over the tree, and all the eggs are cracked. We moving on. We don't want to hear about them no more. But they are the champions. We got to show them a little bit more love. We're going to let the men talk to y'all.
ELGSES Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
All right, let's debunk.
There we go. We're gonna sign off. We're gonna sign off with the Eagles like that. Josh, before I get out of here, there, man. I don't know if you know, every week when we leave these shows, man, I gotta get me a before we get out of here one time, Josh. Let me get one of them things, baby. There we go.
That might be one of the best ones.
Yeah,
right there.
That might be the best one. Hey,
damn,
I'll let y'all know I'm doing a compilation of that. We're gonna have a good little fun time with that. But Rock, man, end us all one time, bro. Want to cook out. We appreciate y'all. Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Glad y'all here. We're gonna let Rock sign us out, baby. Just like that. Cook up.